Save the Second is a pro-Second Amendment organization. Through good or bad, we're here to help drive and save the NRA from itself and the Second from the infighting that happens among the Second Amendment supporters. Because without the Second, the rest will fall. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Save the Second or their employers. This show offers commentary on the latest news associated with the NRA and Save the Second's endeavor to promote a strong, relevant, effective, and accountable NRA.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the Save the Second podcast. Today is Saturday, February 9th, 2020. We're 20 episodes into our effort to make the NRA strong, relevant, effective, and accountable. And holy smokes, it's continuing to be an uphill struggle, but we're making progress, of course. My name is Ron Carter. Hopefully, Rob Pincus will be able to join on here just a little bit. He's a little busy. He's also with Tyler Pincus, so we'll see. Anthony is currently trying to sell his house, and I think he might be able to jump on, but he's pretty swamped with that. Regardless, there's 3 topics of conversation today that we want to bring you up to speed with. The first is the New York Department of Financial Services has pressed charges against the NRA. We also want to bring to your attention the firing of Paul Babaz in his day job, not from the NRA Board of Directors, but his day job. We found out about that one just recently. And lastly, the third topic of conversation is a trending hashtag called #ReplaceWayne with Duane. Yeah, pretty interesting topics of conversation. Of course, the biggest one that is certainly taking everybody by surprise this week is the New York State Department of Financial Services having pressed charges against the NRA. This came to us from a variety of news sources. I think CNN was one of the first ones that reported it. Of course, our friends, I should say, over at No Lawyers, Only Guns and Money, they reported on it as well. Mr. John Richardson reported on it as well. Here's what you need to know. There's a lot of investigations going on into the NRA right now. There's not only the New York State Attorney General, but the DC Attorney General and Department of Financial Services from New York. Now, New York State in 2018 had fined Locked-In Affinity $7 million. Now, this is in 2018, and this all revolves around CarryGuard, or at least the Locked-In Affinity and Department of Financial Services from New York State. That's all in that corner, in the CarryGuard debacle corner. Whereas the New York State Attorney General has a different investigation, DC Attorney General has a different investigation as well, and both of those are far more jeopardizing or would put the NRA in more jeopardy than the Department of Financial Services. Now, the Department of Financial Services is seeking up to a $500 penalty for each of the 28,000 policies issued to New York residents through CarryGuard. 500 times 28,000 would equate to $14 million in fines. $14 million in fines. And this isn't even the big stuff. This is the small stuff still. $14 million. If you took annual NRA memberships, which are currently at $45 for an NRA annual membership, and you divide that by the 14 million, well, that's 311,111 NRA memberships that would be going to pay for the $14 million fine. That's a lot. That's a ridiculous amount. And of course, that's still small potatoes compared to the $100 million hit that, as say that in quotes with, my fingers and air quotes, right, of the, in January's board meeting, NRA CEO / Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre said that they had received a $100 million hit thanks to the New York Attorney General's investigation. Okay, so, I mean, I don't know, are we coming to close to $1 billion in wasted member dues and donations? I don't know. Well, certainly if the Department of Financial Services is awarded the $500 penalty for each of the 28,000 policies, well, holy good Lord Almighty, that's 311,111 NRA memberships that just were wasted. Those funds would be absolutely wasted. Now, there is an April 6th hearing. Okay, April 6th hearing in Manhattan for the Department of Financial Services and these particular charges. Now, there's a lot more to these charges, and of course, you can go read the complaint. You can also go and read the NRA's response. Now, the NRA's response is coming through William Brewer, who is he's a colorful figure in the NRA right now and has been since he's been there. But he made some comments that perhaps you would agree with, and I agree partially with. He said in response to the charges, today's announcement is about politics, not protecting consumers. The NRA acted appropriately at all times. Yeah, I'm not so sure of that. I think, at least in this case, the NRA leadership has made its bed, and it's going to have to sleep in it. Okay, so I'm not sure that they acted appropriately, especially when you consider Josh Powell, who we mentioned last week has been removed from the NRA. This Kerry Guard was something of his baby. He was over that. He brought in Eric Frohart to oversee the training side of Kerry Guard, from my understanding. Just about every facet, every little bitty thing about Kerry Guard reeked of incompetence and gross mismanagement from the start. I kid you not. Well, of course, ask anyone right now who has Kerry Guard. Do you have Kerry Guard? Of course you don't, because no one has Kerry Guard anymore. It was literally a waste of money. So, Department of Financial Services is looking for about $14 million. This may be settled out of court, like within the Lockton Affinity case in May 2018. Lockton, who was the underwriter for Kerry Guard, they were fined $7 million, and that was through a settlement. So we could see a settlement here. We could see the NRA pay half of the $14 million or $7 million, just like Lockton Affinity. I don't know. I'm curious to see exactly how the NRA lawyers and leadership want to fight this, especially when they have larger battles that are looming, that are very close to being taking place. Now, of course, the April 6th hearing in Manhattan will come just a few days, perhaps right at a week before NRA annual meeting. So that's definitely going to be talked about at annual meeting, if that should not be settled before now and then. Holy smokes, folks, this is going to be interesting. Now, we'll go into Paul Babaz real fast. Paul Babaz is an NRA board of director. He is a Safari guy. We mentioned him on the candidate episode 2 episodes back, where we talked about the NRA board of director candidates for 2020. He's been nominated again by the nominating committee. He's on the ballot. I don't think any of us would recommend that you vote for him, especially because he has not attended the last 2 board meetings. Okay, that ought to tell you something. I've been to more board meetings in the past 6 months than he has. Okay, so David Paul Babaz on December 18th, 2019, was fired or let go, terminated, if you want to say that, by his employer, Morgan Stanley. Now, I guess it's based upon allegations. We don't know if they're true. Okay, so this particular article says he's been terminated by the securities broker dealer on October 4th, 2019, based upon allegations that 1, trades were affected in Morgan Stanley's customer accounts without authorization, and 2, trade adjustment forms had been improperly used by Babaz in reference to customers' security transactions. There's more there. I'm not a broker, right? I don't work for Morgan Stanley, so I really don't know the extent of this. but this is filed under stockbrokerfraud.com in their fraud news unauthorized trading section. Okay. And yet he's running for re-election. Or I shouldn't say he's running. He's on the ballot. I haven't seen hide nor hair from him, not a comment, nothing since, well, before the members meeting in 2019. So I'm not sure where he is or what he's doing. But, it seems to me that anybody that's in this position, like for example, say you're on the board of directors and you goof up or have some sort of controversy about you, it might be best to step aside, to resign and say, you know what, I don't want to bring damage to this organization or that organization. I'll resign. I hope, nothing for the best, blah, blah, blah. We're not seeing that at all. Instead, he's still on the ballot. Whereas as the nominating committee had nominated two people who had previously or had later removed their names. I mean, we have two persons that were nominated that withdrew, and yet Paul Babaz hasn't. So, Paul Babaz, if you're hearing me right now, man, you got to say something, dude. Set the record straight. Tell us, your thoughts and feelings and all this stuff, or get out of the way entirely. It's that simple. Now, you know what? I just, since I'm rushing through this and I don't have Rob to comment because, of course, we all know Rob's commentary is always interesting and in depth. I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to take you into a conversation that I had with another candidate this week. And it wasn't really a conversation, but rather I was responding to his comments. Better yet, I'll just show you. How about that? I'm going to show you. It's going to be great. So Philip Journey. Okay. Philip Journey is running for the NRA board of directors. He is a prior director, and I did get a little bit of information wrong about him. Apparently, for example, I thought he had never served on the NRA board of directors before. He has 95 to 98. Now, our only internet conversations with him at all has come from this particular AmmoLand article in which Rob Pincus shared the contents of our conversation about the NRA board of director candidates. Of course, that was a 2.5 hour podcast. It was long, but he summed it up in an article very decently, and he explained his picks, right? His personal opinions, his personal picks. In the comments section, we first saw Philip Journey say that he was disturbed that the patently false information about me and my candidacy for the NRA board has been posted on this website. Well, first of all, there's not mention in this article about Philip Journey, only in our conversations on the podcast. Okay, so fair enough. Maybe I got his age wrong. It still tells me nothing about his plans to try to make the NRA better, which it needs to be. I mean, we just discussed, the New York State Department of Financial Services, potentially fining the NRA $14 million. And that's the tip of the iceberg. And they've already spent $100 million. Nobody's talking about that in the NRA board of directors. None of the candidates are, except for maybe Frank Tate. He's the only candidate that I'm aware of that's even, has the courage to address it on the Facebook and other online sources. But Philip Journey. And so yesterday, or I should say 2 days ago, Phil says, I was endorsed by Jeff Knox in the NRA board of directors election. That's huge. Okay, so I highly, 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 highly respect Jeff Knox and his father and his brother Chris Knox. I have nothing but respect for Jeff Knox, and while Jeff Knox is endorsing him, that's very surprising to me. I don't think that Jeff would simply give away endorsements, right? So there's something about Mr. Phil, and I'm saying Mr. Phil because, hey, that's his name right here, Phil, whereas previously he had said he's the Honorable Phil Journey. But I digress. Phil says that he's endorsed by Jeff Knox. That's huge to me. I want to know exactly why. I really want Jeff to explain if he so chooses. But furthermore, I would like to know what in the world Philip Journey is going to do to fix the problems and failures of leadership in the NRA. He's accusing, in this particular comment that he posted 2 days ago, if you go in and read it, he attacks, Rob Pincus, which I get it. Rob's polarizing. I totally get it. Okay. I can be polarizing. Attack me. Come on. No, I don't understand why why Philip Journey is attacking our observations that he is irrelevant, especially on the internet. I mean, 100% irrelevant on the internet. He may be relevant in Kansas. He may be, relevant as a judge. He may have incredible insight into legislation, but he's irrelevant at fixing the problems, which if the problems aren't corrected, guess what? The NRA is done. It's destroyed. If it loses its nonprofit status, which it very well could, there will not be an NRA afterwards, or at least if there is, it will be entirely ineffective, 100% ineffective. So, I'm sure, I'm certain that Phil has done great things. For example, he mentions 4-Hers, and helping their national championships and competitive shooting. I shot 4-H growing up. I know exactly how valuable that is. And I agree with Mr. Phil that is a huge, or should be a huge focus of the NRA, because if this next generation doesn't have the appreciation for the Second Amendment that we do, well, holy smokes, this was all for nothing. This was all in vain. This was all stupid. So, yes, I agree with him 100%. Mr. Phil, I agree with him 100% when it comes to, focusing and redoubling our efforts on youth development. I totally agree. But as I just said, if the NRA is destroyed, well, guess what? All of your work there is in vain. It's not worth it. So you have to fix the sinking ship first. And I've yet to do this, or rather, I've yet to see Phil come out and address anything like that. Oh, yeah. So I wanted to share that with you. We reached out to Mr. Phil just as soon as we saw his original comments, and we've got nothing back. All right, that's sad. I hope now. Granted, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He may not be internet savvy. Like I'm doing a podcast right now. He may not even know what a podcast is. I'll totally give him the benefit of the doubt, but I would expect him to address the problems in the NRA and fix the NRA. Oh, get a little worked up on that one. All right, so we talked about Babaz, being terminated from his employment. We talked about the New York State Department of Financial Services charges against the NRA. Again, the hearing is scheduled for April 6th, just a few days before annual meeting. Let's talk about one that's, I think, very peculiar in a good way. While this doesn't typically suit our regular news, I really wanted to show you this particular meme. All right, I'm going to share with you a meme. Memes aren't exactly the most interesting topic of news, but gun grabbing memes for the Tacticool scene is the name of the page, and they have roughly 60,000 followers. Okay, so they're probably one of the biggest Second Amendment style meme pages on Facebook. And they did this particular meme here just the other day. It's a picture for those of you that are listening and not watching. It's a 4-picture conglomerate, where the first left picture is a guy that's cringing and looking away from the picture on the right, which is Wayne LaPierre. And at the bottom on the left, it's the guy that's smiling and pointing, in affirmation, like that's the one. And the picture to the right is Duane Liptak. In the center, there's lettering with the hashtag that says "Replace Wayne with Duane." That's interesting to me. So first of all, gun grabbing memes for the Tacticool scene has been exceptionally critical of the NRA, like many of us have, and perhaps legitimately so. They've been very, very, very critical and hostile, especially to Wayne LaPierre. Join the club. I mean, there's quite a few people that have definitely been like that as well. But this is the first time that I've seen anyone suggest who Wayne LaPierre's replacement should be. I mean, there's been conversations, before Chris Cox left the Institute for Legislative Action, there were talks that he would be taking up the torch, that he would be, next in line for the CEO/vice president seat of the NRA, which Wayne LaPierre has. But I guess that was more assumed. And after Chris's departure and the wheels falling off the wagon since the 2019 annual meeting, no one has really made any sort of suggestion on who an interim CEO/EVP should be. Interesting that gun grabbing memes for the tactical scene not only made that suggestion, but in their comments, they said, don't toss your February issue of American Rifleman. It has the ballot for the NRA Board of Directors election, and it is your opportunity to oust the FUDs. Now, I've always thought that the word FUD, while it's funny, it's humorous, and in some cases it's accurately stereotypical, it's still a stereotype, and stereotypes are not fair. So take that one with a grain of salt. But still, we have this openly critical of the NRA Facebook meme page, which is now calling for replacing Wayne with Duane. That's fascinating to me. I reached out to Duane Liptak and just shared that with him when I saw it. I love Duane Liptak. I really do. I have a huge amount of respect for him. If you don't know who he is the CEO of Magpul. Yeah, I've got Magpul stocks galore. If you have some ARs, you definitely have some Magpul stocks, right? His slings, Magpul's slings, the MS4s. Oh my goodness, they're my favorite slings. They're great. Magpul makes a tremendous amount of products, and of course, you're probably familiar with their PMags. Duane Liptak is a gun guy. He really is. And running Magpul, he's even more a gun guy. So I'm sure that's where tactical gun grabbing memes for the tactical scene is getting their ideology there. But yeah, I would be really curious to see if Duane would want that position. Now, I reached out to him, and he was pretty bland. He was humbled. He's like, yeah, okay, that's really nice. Thanks. And you can just tell, I could tell that he doesn't want to assume that position. He seems like a reluctant leader to me. Now, reluctant leader is exactly what I want, ironically enough. If somebody says, ooh, I really want to be the CEO/EVP, well, then red flags go up like, oh my gosh, really? You want to try to get a bigger paycheck than what Wayne LaPierre had in 2018, $2.2 million? Yeah. That seat is not about getting rich. It shouldn't be about getting rich. And so if anybody wants that position and says it openly, yeah, I'm hesitant. But yeah, regardless, Duane Liptak is a great guy. I love him to death. I'm very, very, very happy that he is on the NRA Board of Directors. Of course, he was removed from all of his committee assignments back in, I guess that was late June, early July. That started this whole retribution for anyone that was speaking out against Wayne LaPierre. Alan West had called that the National Retaliation Association in an article. Of course, Alan West is still a board member. I'm curious to see if he'll be at annual meeting in Nashville. If you aren't aware, the NRA annual meeting is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, April 16th through 19th at Music City Center. I'm trying to get there. Well, I'm going to be there trying to get lodging for it, which if you're looking into lodging, that's going to be pretty expensive. I'm sorry, especially if you're trying to get walking distance to Music City Center. That's going to be pricey. Airbnb is a good option, although I'm having some issues trying to decide on how many people that, me, my wife, Anthony Garcia, and a few others are going to be able to pack into one of these Airbnbs. We'll see. If you have any recommendations, send us an email, put it in the comments. If you're from there, you definitely need to be there. Music City Center, April 16th through 19th. Now, the members meeting. This is a big one. The meeting of the NRA members is on Saturday, the 18th of April. This is a particular meeting where we could see resolutions that affect change from the membership, by the membership, for the NRA. I will very much encourage you to be there if you can make it at all. If you can only afford one day, be there early on Saturday morning, April 18th, Music City Center. I believe the members meeting will officially start at 10 a.m. I suspect that convention hall or center, it's going to be filled. Well, I shouldn't say filled. Last year we had plenty of open seats, but I suspect this year there's going to be thousands of concerned members like you and I that attend and want to be heard at our NRA. And by the way, in the NRA bylaws, it is your right to attend and be heard at all meetings of the members. Well, if you're curious on that particular bylaw article number and page, just let me know. Got the NRA bylaws in my hands right here, but I'm not going to look it up to save a little bit of time. Rob Pincus, oh my gosh, he must be having a good time with toddler Pincus. Always cool to see him be a father. Of course, I'm a father as well, and I'm going to go and hang out with my kids. My daughter's birthday is, well, we celebrated yesterday/today. Her actual birthday is tomorrow, February 10th. She's 12 years old. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so wish Bailey a happy birthday if you get the opportunity. Thank you very much. I'm a proud father, obviously. Now, if you look at reforming the NRA from a religious aspect, kind of like I do, I mean, I have, while it should not matter, I'm a Christian, okay? Shouldn't matter. But I do try to view things through that lens of morality. In the good book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 24, the New International Version says, "Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them." If you look at reforming the NRA through that lens, I'm not trying to call people like Paul Babaz out because I hate them. No. It's because I love the NRA, and I want to make sure that the NRA is squared away and accountable. And same thing with Mr. Philip Journey, man. Hey, if you love the NRA, fix the NRA. Tell me how you're going to fix the NRA, please. We're certainly trying to do the best at Save the Second. Of course, we had 5 goals, 1 down, 4 to go, I should say. Yeah, we're making progress, but of course, this is a long game. The NRA has been around 149 years, and it's not going to change overnight. Well, at least not like it did in Cincinnati in 1977. If you don't know that history, go and look up the Cincinnati Revolt. Yeah, please do. There's a lot of history there. We can make the NRA better. We can change the NRA. We can make it strong, relevant, effective, and accountable. Accountable to what? Accountable not only to the members, but the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yeah, folks, I think I'll wrap that up and keep it nice and light. Of course, we'll always try to bring you commentary and information that you may have missed in the news regarding the NRA. Take our commentary with a grain of salt, of course, because it is just that, our commentary. It's our opinion. We could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I want to be right. And so if you can help make me right, iron sharpens iron, correct me where I'm wrong, and let's make this NRA better than it's ever been. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Our podcast can be found on your favorite podcast app. Hopefully you're listening to this on one of those because those are cool. Be sure to give us a review if you haven't already on one of those sources like iTunes. That helps a lot. The iTunes podcast, I should say. That helps get the message out to more members, which of course with 5 million members of the NRA, trying to reach all of them is a massive hurdle. So yeah, we appreciate your assistance in giving us a review, sharing this with your friends, and making the NRA better. Nick Dooley is the voiceover of our introduction. Of course, he does an amazing job. I love listening to his voice. His voice is amazing. He is the owner-operator of Dooley Defense and Pair, South Dakota. All of us at Save the Second are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Jameson Nethery is a volunteer. Rob Pincus is a volunteer. Anthony Garcia. We're all volunteers. We're not doing this for money. We're doing this to make our NRA amazing. Thank you very much for your help with that. Folks, if you have donated to Save the Second, holy smokes, I got to absolutely thank you. It's always humbling to me that people not only share this, with their friends and be involved in their NRA, but help us make the NRA better with contributions. It's humbling. It's amazing. Thank you so much for those of you that have donated. It always humbles me. I always don't have the words to properly thank you. So thank you very much. And folks, hey, it's February 9th. We just have 2 more months before the members meeting. Oh, buddy, please attend the members meeting on Saturday, April 18th. I know I'm beating the dead horse here, but please be there. Be there, be there. Tell your friends to be there. Tell any voting eligible NRA member to be there. Drag them there if you have to, by God. And I hope to see you there. Take care, guys.